Now we get to more exciting things that happen in programming. We started with if statements, so that's a bit of logic where it has to evaluate what's going on and gives you an either or scenario. But sometimes you want to cycle through an iteration. You want to go through something as long as something is in place. And so there are while loops and for loops, and we're going to look at both of those. Every loop has to have an initializer, so a place to start. We usually use I for initializer, and we started at 0. Then a condition for it to evaluate, so it's going to keep running as long as I is less than something, and sometimes that thing that it's less than is an actual variable itself that's being evaluated. And then it needs an iterator, something that's going to increment every time. And this I++ is really just shorthand for I equals I plus 1. Typically, every time you go through a loop, you just want it to increment by 1. So I++ is the same thing as I equals I plus 1. The new result is the I plus 1. So let's grab this whole thing here, and we're going to say I am writing this 5 times. Let's make sure that it does it. And actually, I think in the console, it doesn't necessarily do that. So let's run it. It doesn't write it all 5 times for you in the console, but so let's modify that code to do the document write. So you can see here, it just sort of added it to the end of what I had here, and it's writing it 5 times. We would want to do some formatting on this, maybe add some HTML to make a break here so that they would each be on a different line. But you can see how it went through. It evaluates that I is equal to 0. So when it first goes into it, yes, I is less than 5. It writes it, adds 1. Now I is 1, evaluates it's still less than 5. And it's going to keep going through it until we get to the end, until I is indeed no longer less than 5. And then it'll stop and kick you out. So you can see here where I did it with the document write. Pretty cool, right? Again, you'll have to stop to think about how these kinds of things can be used in the programs that you're working on. But there's a lot of times that you'll go through, you need something to go through a list of items and evaluate them for a certain reason. We'll have exercises later. The for loop has everything that the while loop has, but it does it in sort of a shorthand where it puts the initializer, the incrementer, and the iterator all in the same, or the condition and the iterator all in the same parentheses here, and tells it to do it. So it's a little bit shorter writing, and I often use for loops instead of while loops. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that because those will probably show up.